Al, I hear you've been wanting to talk about this video game.
What?
I hear a lot of people have been wanting to talk about this video game.
I don't know about that.
I hear it is a somewhat popular video game.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Just a smidge. But yeah, hello. We're going to talk about a video game here today.
Mm-hmm. Just a little one.
Just a little one. Here on this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc, Al, and Ladium.
Hello, hello.
This is episode 335.
335.
It's a lot of episodes. Oops.
Yeah,
Can't
we've been
type.
doing this a while.
Yes, we have. We sure have. We're going to talk about a video game today. It's one of the biggest releases of the year, potentially.
Yep.
It's the sequel to Breath of the Wild. It finally came out.
Yep.
Can you believe it?
It has a title now, though. It's not just the sequel to Breath of the Wild.
No, I think they're just still calling it the untitled sequel to the Breath of the Wild.
I love that that's what it was announced as.
That's what they should just kept it as.
It would have been funny.
Don't be a coward.
Oh no. It's Tears of the Kingdom, though. That is the name.
It is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I always wanted to call it Trails of the Kingdom, which I think that's just because I've been playing too many Trails games.
Yeah, Trails on the Brain.
There's too many of those. How many? I got to do some math here real quick.
Oh god. Math is hard.
It's very hard. You're right. 321 episodes ago,
Wow.
we talked about Breath of the Wild.
Wow, it was that long ago.
That episode came out on March 18th of 2017.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And now 6 years later,
Mm-hmm.
we're here to talk about the sequel, which I don't think either of us anticipated this game taking 6 years, but also I don't think we anticipated all of the stuff they were going to add to this game either.
Right. And I don't think Nintendo anticipated 6 years either.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they announced this in 2019, and then COVID hit, so that's going to put a little bit of a wrinkle in your plans, so...
A little bit.
Just a smidge, let's say. But yeah,
they added so much though, so it makes sense that it took this long.
Yeah, because we were just thinking like, oh, they'll let's reuse the map, which they technically do. That is true.
Technically, yes.
And they'll just add some more story, and then we'll just be on our way. It'll be like a Majora's Mask type situation. They'll just
like
get this out the door real quick. Yeah.
Nope.
They went a little bit different ways than what we would have thought.
Yeah. Quite a bit of a different way.
This game came out on May the 12th of 2023. 6 years, 2 months after the release of the original game.
Wild.
This game has currently a 95 out of 100 on the Metacritic.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
How's that compare to like Ocarina?
I mean, Ocarina I think is higher, but it's also different because you're taking reviews from 97.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah, 95 though is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's like a 97 on OpenCritic, which is it's tied for the highest rated game on that platform, which is that caters to more like modern games and stuff, but still a pretty big thing.
Wow.
This is the fastest selling and highest selling. Maybe not highest selling, but the fastest selling game in the Zelda franchise. In its first 3 days of release, it sold. This is where Al takes a guess. Worldwide.
I already saw it. It's over 10 million.
Well, there you go. You got it.
I saw a news article about it earlier.
Yes, it's 10 million in the first 3 days. Over 4 million copies sold in the U.S. alone. I think it was a ridiculous amount in Japan as well, which is was very surprising.
Sense.
So
I mean, Japan likes Zelda.
Yeah, but even then, they're not. Usually, they don't come out in droves like this.
Right. No, you're right. 10 million's a lot though.
It is a lot, a lot.
And that's like just the first several days. Like it hasn't been out that long.
No, yeah, that's the surprising thing. It sold over 2.2 million copies in Japan in those first couple of days.
That's impressive.
That's very that's high.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Is that like
But
Dragon Quest numbers?
that might be.
I
Let me see if I can pull. I remember I saw a statistic
love statistics. I don't like math though.
that like I think put it around like Dragon Quest numbers and like Final Fantasy numbers and stuff like that.
Wow, that's impressive.
So I don't know how accurate this is, but this is from like a fandom
Mm-hmm.
page, and it has like the top 25 best launch week sales for games in Japan. Apparently, this data was taken from Famitsu. I don't know how like up to date this is. It has like I guess it has Animal Crossing on it, like
Mm-hmm.
the Animal Crossing for Switch.
Right.
So it's accurate of to that up to that. Excuse me. This would place this around what did we say like 2.2, 2.4?
Mm-hmm. I think it's 2.2, you said.
If it's 2.2, that would make it around the fourth or fifth highest selling launch game in Japan. Around the same, it's around the same as like Dragon Quest 8, which also
Wow.
sold 2.2 million. So yeah, pretty high up there.
I don't know where you got that number. I was gonna check it, but I couldn't find it.
Which one?
The Japanese number.
It was in an article.
Nahone.
I can just click back to this other page I was on. If it'll load.
Because I couldn't remember.
2.24.
2.24, okay.
So at 2.24, that would put it as the fourth highest launch week game in Japan as of this thing. So I don't know if anything else has surpassed that or not.
Right. Wow, that's bananas.
The only things higher than it are Dragon Quest 9 on the DS, Final Fantasy 8, and
Yes.
Pokemon Black and White.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's pretty high numbers. And then also
Yeah.
they did sell this game at $70 US, which they did try to come out and say, hey, you know, we put a lot of stuff in here. You know, they did, but also you still could have sold this game for $60 and it would have been fine.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing in this game that makes you really want to or need to pay $10 more, especially when like this game is really pushing the Switch hardware to its limits.
Yep, it is.
It is showing its age quite a bit in this game.
I mean, I've seen people like talk about how garbage it looks and everything, and I don't think it looks like garbage. It does have some like stuttery moments and things like that.
The frame rate is solid for the most part. It does like hitch here and there. There is noticeable pop in and like texture pop in, and like you'll see throughout, and like some of those textures up close don't look great.
Right.
But also, you know, it's a game made on the Switch, so I'm not entirely surprised by that. But again, it's if you look at it that way, like it still does not justify at making you spend $10 more on this.
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Absolutely not.
Although I am proud of my Switch because I'm still playing on my launch day Switch. So Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom got to be on that same console.
Yeah, I did not play any of this.
Champion.
I didn't even play any of this handheld, so I don't know how it ran or looked on like with that.
I played it handheld some.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it's fine, but like I also am not one of those people that like freaks out about graphical fidelity and all that fun stuff. The only like thing that was ever noticeably like, oh, that's not great is that when you go down to the depths sometimes it'll like stutter as you like make that transition from like the upper world to the lower world.
Yeah, they're like their secret load.
Yeah. But it does that both on docked and undocked.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, let's talk about the development of this video game.
Okay.
Development of Tears of the Kingdom started in 2017 after Breath of the Wild was completed. Initially, new ideas were thought of for DLC, but eventually evolved into a new game when too many were gathered. It was announced at E3 2019 as a sequel to Breath of the Wild. At E3 2021, Nintendo debuted a trailer revealing gameplay, story elements, and a 2022 release window, but Nintendo later changed the release window to Q2 of 2023. More information was revealed in the Nintendo Direct presentation held in September of 2022, including the title of Tears of the Kingdom and a release date of May 12, 2023, and another Nintendo Direct in February of 2023 teased more gameplay elements. A playable version of the game leaked online in the form of a disc image 2 weeks before release.
That was a whole thing.
As with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom was directed by Hidemaru Fujibayashi and produced by Eiji Aonuma. The game was conceived after the team was unable to use every idea planned for Breath of the Wild's downloadable content. New elements include floating islands above Hyrule, with players able to soar between them in a style similar to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. While he was shown early demos for the game, the involvement of Shigeru Miyamoto in its development was minimal in comparison to previous Zelda games due to scheduling conflicts with his role as a producer on Nintendo and Illumination's The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Yeah, get him out of here.
Yeah, I would say that's
get out of here.
Probably for the best that he was not involved.
The development team came up with ideas for the game during the development of Breath of the Wild. Aonuma said that the team had all agreed that the sequel would return to the same version of Hyrule. Technical director Takehiro Dota said he was inspired by Wii Sports Resort to use the same place but add new mechanics. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. The idea of having new discoveries in the same setting was striking to me, he said. He also noted that using familiar locations is useful for players when diving from the sky. By extending the game world into the sky and underground, the development team greatly expanded the existing area of exploration. Aonuma referred...
chuds on the internet will say that they didn't expand the map very much.
Well, it's because they're stupid and you don't listen to them.
Yeah, dumb chuds. Anyway.
Aonuma referred to Skyward Sword, commenting that due to the limitations of the hardware, the developers were not able to achieve a seamless descent from the sky to the surface. In that game, Link was limited to diving only from specific spots. With the capabilities of the Switch, Tears of the Kingdom could now provide the freedom of traversing a game world that is connected both horizontally and vertically.
Do you remember when we said that Breath of the Wild, like, Skyward Sword was kind of the prototype for Breath of the Wild?
Uh-huh. I do remember that.
Skyward Sword is the prototype for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes, in a way. Due to its similarity to Breath of the Wild, the developers experienced strong deja vu while developing its sequel. Aonuma said that the development team was trying to create something new, but also something similar to the previous game, and realized that some aspects were already as they should be. Fujibayashi also said that there were occasions where they struggled to differentiate between the two games. The developers approached Tears of the Kingdom with a list of ideas that they had wanted to include in Breath of the Wild. Aonuma wanted the player to go underground in Breath of the Wild, but was restricted by the technical limitations of the Wii U. Tears of the Kingdom reintroduced large dungeons into the series, which are connected to Hyrule's surface. Technical director Takehiro Dota said that the dungeons were designed with regional characteristics to make them unique to the respective environments, just like traditional The Legend of Zelda games. The dungeons were primarily created to showcase the range of Link's powers and gadgets as a way to maximize the gameplay. Additionally, they were designed to be accessed seamlessly rather than being closed off, allowing the player to dive from the sky straight down into the dungeon and step out again at any point. One of the core concepts in the game is the ability to build items.
Yes.
Fujibayashi said that immediately after the release of Breath of the Wild, players began experimenting with various elements within the game and posted videos of their accomplishments on social media. This gave the development team the confidence to create more tools in Tears of the Kingdom that players could use to create their own unique gameplay experience. Zonai devices were introduced to encourage greater experimentation, but this also required a balance to be set, allowing the player to be creative and maintaining limitations to ensure players were not able to break gameplay with infinitely powered devices. The theme of hands was also used as an overarching element within the game as a way to express the concept of connecting. It is present in the game mechanics, story, visuals, and sound. Takehiro Dota, the technical director, said that joining hands and cooperating with other characters is a major aspect of the game, along with Link's ability to use his hands to create items. Link's right arm was created as a way to distinguish him from the previous iterations of the character, but it's also used symbolically to solve puzzles and open doors. Aonuma said the theme is also present within the story, which involves connecting to Hyrule's history. I think what they're trying to say here is that Tears of the Kingdom is a Strand game.
No.
I think that's what they're saying.
Oh no. I'm just trying to figure out what they mean by uh, hands are present in sound.
Sam Porter Bridges walked so Link could run.
I think what you mean is that he walks so that Link could build a tank.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyways, the Ascend ability was developed from a debug feature that Aonuma and Fujibara used to exit the game's caves.
You mean the one that we always forget to use?
Yes, that's the one exactly.
Yep.
They agreed that it was a pain to navigate all the way through the caves and wanted to cheat to get to the surface.
I use it all the time when I go in caves.
It's true. Its implementation posed other challenges, such as ensuring that the player would not ascend into an empty space due to data loading issues.
No, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Aonuma cited inspiration from the open world games Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. By March 2022, Aonuma appeared in a Nintendo Direct presentation to announce that Tears of the Kingdom had been delayed. He later revealed to Gene Park of the Washington Post that while the game was essentially finished at the time, it had been delayed a year so that the developers could further polish it, which I think like that makes sense because usually, games can be feature complete and they'll take the rest of that time to, get all the kinks knocked out, the bugs ripped out and everything. But I think also he said that like they took that year as well to make sure like all the physics worked.
Yeah, which I'm glad that they did.
A big thing in this game is like making sure the physics work.
Yeah.
And they surprisingly do pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's wild how you can just absolutely make the physics do what you need it to do. It doesn't make any sense to me how it works, but I'm happy that it does.
Yeah, it makes sense why this game took so long. It's like
yeah,
you're putting in an option for players to be able to literally create whatever they want.
Yes.
Which obviously is going to make for some designs that are not intended for what they were thinking.
Right.
But I think it's interesting as well. They talked about how like they saw people doing just weird in Breath of the Wild and
that they didn't expect them to do. Yeah.
All right, well let's continue that idea, but just give them more tools to make just weird.
Let's encourage that.
Yeah. Let's let these people crucify Koroks.
I didn't crucify any, but I did strap rockets to them.
Let's just
and it worked.
Let them make a device that builds a cool S.
Oh my God, has somebody made the S?
Yeah. So good.
I haven't seen that. I want to see the S.
But yeah, it's just you can build whatever you want. I built a car that allowed Link to not be seen by enemies, which was very funny.
That was really funny. I built a lot of airplanes.
Yeah.
I also built my weird fishing boat the other day.
You did build a weird fishing boat and just stuck fish to it.
And a treasure chest.
You need to find that fishing auto build schematic.
I have it. I just haven't tried it yet.
Well, there you go. Man, yeah. This game is something.
It's wild. I mean, like, I never expected to have Link drive an airplane somewhere, especially like with rockets attached to it.
Yeah, Link's going to space.
Link's going to space, man. He's going places. He's having a good time. You know what? He has a very good future as an engineer if this whole like being the protector of the princess thing doesn't work out.
I think if they don't look at what people have been like building and like just posting on social media and the internet in general and think we need to put a creative mode in this game, they are literally leaving money on the table.
Yeah. Because
I think that's a layup. Like just give people access to everything. The map is like, free of enemies or what, you can place enemies like you want. You have the ability to place any item you want, any Zonai device you want, and just go ham and build whatever you want and just
like
see what
Minecraft
works.
Creative mode.
Yeah, exactly. Just let you do whatever you want. Like I think that would be such a cool idea, and also like it would make so much sense.
Yeah, it totally would. I wonder how they feel when they saw that video of somebody made that like giant stick figure with a flaming crotch though.
Look, it's the thing from Mythic Quest where they have that like time to creation thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I think I've seen like people in game development be like, yeah, that's a real thing. We
Yeah.
know. We know. We give you the tools, you're going to make a
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I believe it. I believe it. But this was a
So
flaming one.
I don't think they're surprised. Maybe they're surprised by the fire, but
I just imagine like somebody on this development team be like, "Oh, it's shooting fire."
cool.
Okay. Um, but I hope they're really happy with the stuff they see people do. Did Monolith Software work on this one like they did Breath of the Wild? It doesn't
Yes.
mention it. Okay, they did.
They were in the credits I saw, and also there's
Oh
a
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I
a
saw
little
that.
blip on the developer thing on the page. But yeah, they did they worked on this as well, you know, making 2 Xenoblade Chronicles games and then also working on a Zelda game in 6
Yep.
years. No big deal.
No big deal. No big deal at all.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, we have been excited for this game since it was announced in 2019. It's like, oh man, they're making another one of these. That's great. We really enjoyed Breath of the Wild. So like,
Yeah.
the sky's open in terms of like, no pun intended there, but like in terms of just like what they could do with a sequel to this game.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot you could do.
And they really didn't. They kind of kept their hands close to their chest for a good while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it wasn't until like last year where they were like really open up, like, all right, here's this game.
Yeah.
Here's what this game is. And even then, like they didn't really truly open up until like a month before the game came out. We're like, all right, here's also all the stuff you can do with this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first experience we really got with like this is what it's actually gonna function like is that like 10-minute playthrough that Anuma did on YouTube.
Which I completely just didn't watch because I was like, you know, it's a month before the game's coming out. I know I'm gonna play this game. So like I just went on like a media shutdown of like, all right, I'll get into the game and see what the stuff is. Like I knew some stuff was going to happen because like I saw enough people talking about, like I heard about weapon fusing and I was just like, oh, do you just put 2 sticks together and make a weapon now? All right, yeah, sure, okay.
Man, though, that helps with the weapon durability thing because that was something that annoyed me, but like it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, there's you have more options at your disposal. Also, you could just like you could attach stuff to the Master Sword, which is pretty neat.
It's pretty funny.
It's pretty good. So like I had heard about that, but I didn't know like the extent of like or how it worked.
That's why you didn't know about the key ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he mentioned and they're like, oh, I'm not a very good shot and I can't see very well anymore. So I'm just going to attach this thing and do this so I could shoot better. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, so I had no idea about that because I didn't watch that.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering why you didn't remember that. And that's why, because you didn't watch it.
I mean, also they changed up the whole arrow system in this game because like before you had like specific arrows for each situation. Now it's just like throw whatever you want on there, just go.
Just go.
It's pretty cool. I didn't know the extent of like the building stuff. So like that stuff was all new to me. And I don't think they really went into like the depths at all in any of the pre-release stuff I saw.
None of the pre-release had the depths. That was a complete surprise to me.
So like I knew about like the sky stuff and like even then like the sky stuff is kind of just like barely anything at all compared to like the depths. Which is super surprising because they went so hard in like the marketing of like, look, you're in the sky and stuff.
But
and,
like more plot relevant stuff happens in the depths.
And like there's like there's like a few things you could do up there, but that's really kind of it.
Yeah, it's mostly like shrines. And like the opening area.
And they're like, nah, we made a dark version of Hyrule down underground for you to explore. Surprise.
And it's terrifying. But yeah, none of that was announced at all.
So I didn't know if that was like a thing that they showed off in that or not.
And even the plot, they kept their cards really close to the chest. Like, we didn't even know about the traditional dungeons until a week before release.
Because I think they were just like in an interview, like, oh yeah, by the way, we got dungeons back.
Yeah, because
Dungeons
everybody was like panicking on Twitter about like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna play it if there's not dungeons anymore. Blah 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 blah.
I mean, I feel like people were also like, even like a month out before release, were like, are there shrines in this game still? Like they haven't talked about that.
No, they didn't talk about any of that. And then like Nintendo on Twitter was like, oh yeah, there are regional dungeons that are coming back. Everybody's like, what? Why are you just putting this on Twitter a week before release?
It's super weird, but like I think it also works because like, I mean, obviously the whole the idea behind Breath of the Wild is the exploration of that game.
Right.
And it's the same with this game. And I feel like even more so with this game, where like, because there's so much more stuff to go out and explore.
Yeah.
And withholding all that stuff, I think is a good idea, because it just lets you go out, get into this game immediately and be like, all right, well, what am I doing? What do I got to do?
Going into the depths for the first time in the story bit was terrifying because I had no idea it was there. And like the experience of it, you're just like, oh no.
It's like, here's this thing that's like, it's gonna mess up your hearts if you touch it too long. Also, these enemies down here will just you up. Like, this is a bad time down here.
It's a bad time. They basically looked at shoot. I keep thinking Yakuza, but that's not it. Judgment and the heartbreaking system.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to like go get it healed by the doctor. They looked at that and like, what if we put that in Zelda? Which is not even the only Yakuza reference we're probably going to make in this, because there are two other moments that are very Yakuza in this game.
The end has some good stuff there. It's like,
it has some good Yakuza moments, and both of us were like, hey, this was kind of like Yakuza, and this was kind of like Yakuza, and now we have Judgment. So there you go. What I'm saying is that Zelda is now a Yakuza game.
True. The amount of like you skydiving through the air and like using your glider and also just diving, very Fortnite-like. Just dropping out. It's like, where are we dropping, boys? Hyrule Castle, let's go.
Let's go.
But like, it feels like mechanically just very similar to that. It was a weird thing. Obviously, I don't think that's what their inspiration was. Yeah, think the Korok seed. But yeah, that was a funny thing. Yeah, this I still don't know if I've even like wrapped my head around this game, like thoughts wise, just because like I took a week basically and just went all in and playing this game and just did nothing but play this game.
Same.
Abandoning everything else in the process.
Besides work.
Yeah, you had a little bit of other things to do, obviously.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately.
I think going into this, I was worried that it would not capture the magic that Breath of the Wild had. Right. In terms of just like, that exploration of like wanting to go see things and find every little nook and cranny you could and everything. And like, I am shocked that they were able to recapture that in a but in a different way.
In a different way. Like, I'm still just looking around for wells now because I want to know what's in the wells.
Spoilers, it's water and maybe an enemy.
Oh, I mean, there's
or two,
sometimes
and also
there's
some rocks.
And you're going to get like one of the little bubble gem guys.
Yeah.
And the lady back at the lookout area gives you money for it.
Cha-ching.
She's like, hey, you're going to tell me where a well is? Here's money. And I'm like, thank you.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
But yeah, it's so... one of the first things I did when I got out of this game, out of the tutorial section of this game, was it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to go find all the towers. Because there are less towers to do, which is very nice.
Very nice.
And also, you don't have to like climb up them and do it that way like you did in Breath of the Wild. It's just like, sometimes you'll have to be like, okay, well, there's like the mechanism's broken, so I got to like find a way in and do it that way. But for the most part, you just go in, you do the thing, the little guardians will come out and be like, we're going to gear you up and you're going to go flying, and then you're going to scan and you're good. And like this, I did that. I got the map all set out, and then I was like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? All right, well, the world is my oyster. I could do whatever I want, I guess.
That's pretty much how I did it too, was just mapping first. Although we started out with different dungeons, which is also a whole thing.
Yeah.
I want to say, since we're talking about the towers real quick, kind of a move on Pura's part that she like built these towers out and used like the guardian arms and everything. I was like, hey, Link, why don't you go try this out? And didn't warn him, because I swear to God, this man probably has so much PTSD with guardians. Like, you can see it on his face when he experiences it the first time. He's like, freaking,
oh no.
He's freaking out.
We're good.
She couldn't just give him a
plug
quick
in a
heads
USB
up.
cord in. It's fine.
She could give him a heads up of like, oh, by the way, I reused the guardian arms. Don't freak out.
It's almost weird how as well that like that's the only real
reference
time you see those. Like all that
Yeah.
stuff's kind of just gone.
Yeah, there's no explanation really on like what, or there's no explanation that I have found. I've heard that there's an explanation, but I haven't found it.
I mean, also I guess it's interesting because like they haven't really clarified the time difference between Breath of the Wild and this.
The general consensus is about 6 years
But like again, that's just like
based on NPCs and
yeah,
aging.
yeah,
Yeah. Which would make Zelda and Link around 23.
they're old.
Wow. How dare you?
But yeah, it was interesting to see like all that stuff gone, but like I kind of didn't miss it.
I didn't miss it, but also like I would not be surprised if they disassembled all of that because Jesus Christ, it almost killed them all.
Yeah, pretty good
All of it
idea.
almost killed everybody. Like, I'd probably want to get rid of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Reuse what you can, which in this case were Guardian arms. Gonna get you.
I do
Gonna
like how like
plug in the USB.
anytime you meet like a character you knew from like Breath of the Wild, they'll just be like, wait, what are you doing here? What's going on? You're back.
Although it's so
What's going
weird.
on?
Some of them don't remember you.
Look, you just didn't bring over your right save. Clearly,
No,
everyone remembered me.
that's not true.
They're like, whoa, cool. It's a Link. I know you.
Hetsu doesn't remember you.
Well, he's too busy. You didn't get all the poop for him. That's why.
That makes sense.
Clearly, if you had gotten all the Koraxes and you got that poop, he'd been like, wow, you're the poop man.
You're the poop man. You're the guy who collected all that poop. Look at you. But yeah, several people didn't recognize me. I was like, oh.
Maybe they've
But
been through some stuff.
right, and I mean like the way that I was justifying it in my head is that like if he did like a thing for them, say 6 years ago, they saw him like that one time and then he just like never showed up again, like I probably wouldn't remember somebody either.
6 years is a long time.
6 years is a long time. And I mean like, stuff has happened.
We're rebuilding. We're busy focusing on that.
Yeah, yeah, having lives that are not tormented by the Calamity Ganon.
Except for now, where now you get to be tormented by your actual Ganon.
Ganondorf.
Matt Mercer as Ganon.
Matt Mercer.
It's a very weird choice.
It's a weird choice, but he did a really good job.
I mean, he's good, but it's just like I listen to him. I'm like, oh, that's just Matt Mercer.
It's just Matt Mercer. Yeah,
It
the whole
just
time
takes me out of it.
That's just Matt Mercer.
That's Matt Mercer. I know that voice.
um. Yeah, that's just Matt Mercer. But hydrated Ganondorf. Yeah, he's an actual. But between Calamity Ganon and hydrated Ganondorf coming back, like they had like 5 or 6 years of some like peace to live their lives. So they probably forgot the guy who just showed up and did like one little thing for him at one point. I
They've
say
been
that as
busy.
if like, yeah. I mean, like things have been going on. Some people remember you, some people don't.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
That's just how it be sometimes.
That's how it be. Like I said, I wouldn't remember everybody I met 6 years ago. Especially if I met them like once.
Yeah, you're too busy playing your brand new Switch 6 years ago.
Oh my god. Right.
Still trying to get your PhD 6 years ago.
Oh my god, you're right. I was still a year out from getting my PhD.
So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit hard to remember someone you might have seen once.
Yeah. Well, and he's got a brand new arm and depending on what he's wearing and all that jazz.
Unkempt hair.
Yeah. Yeah, his ponytail's gone unless you find the ponytail holder. And he doesn't have the sword for a while. So
Nope.
that's one thing people always like, oh yes, that guy with a sword. That guy.
That guy.
That guy. I'm like, wow, look at this little gremlin running around with this long hair and his weird arm and no
And a
sword.
stick.
A stick with a rock attached to it.
Carrying random sheets of wood in the air and just being like, everyone's like, what is wrong with this man? Get away.
Did he just strap a rocket to that Korok? Like,
Did he just crucify that Korok?
is it okay? What is happening? Link's like, I got it. I got it. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, man.
All good. No worries.
Oh, man.
This was fun.
Yeah. Some fun
Really
times
fun.
to be had.
Yeah.
They really expanded the story in this game. I feel like there's a lot of things they took from Breath of the Wild and were like, all right, people didn't like XYZ, let's fix this.
Yeah.
No dungeons, all right, we're gonna put dungeons back in. You didn't like that there was barely any story, all right, we got more story for you. You didn't like how the weapons degraded, well, too bad. Deal with it.
They're still gonna do that, but they're gonna do it in a different way, and you can also make them stronger with other
Yeah.
stuff.
I feel like the only thing they really didn't like change at all was the combat, and the combat's still kind of still very like one dimensional in terms of just like what you do and everything, but I don't know really exactly how they would have like super fixed it or changed it in a drastic way like they've done with like basically every other system in this game.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that's really super different is the arrow system.
Yeah. But for the most part, I feel like they kind of took like just criticisms or critiques of this game of Breath of the Wild and were like, all right, well, what do we do to alleviate that or change it or make it better or anything of that nature?
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
With that being said, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, I guess we should at some point talk about the story.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything else we should talk about, like mechanic wise or gameplay wise, that we haven't talked about?
I mean, essentially, like a lot of the gameplay is kind of just it's similar to Breath of the Wild. Like if you played that, you have a basic understanding of what you're going to be doing here in terms of like exploration and combat and shrines and all that sort of stuff. I do think the shrines are better in this game. Like there's more clever implementation of like what you can do in the shrine, especially with like the idea of like just you can build whatever you want. So like there's multiple avenues to get to the end of a shrine rather than it's like a developer intended route, and that's kind of what you're supposed to do. Maybe there's a way to finagle it, but for the most part, it feels like in these there's a lot more. It's like, just go at it and see what you can do.
Yeah. Here's some equipment. Do your best.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think them taking out like the combat focus shrines was a good idea.
Yeah, I mean they have the training ones, but then they have the like naked ones.
I think the naked ones are really fun in terms of like because
really fun.
It's something so different and like compared to all the other shrines that you get and like the ways that at least the ones I've done, they're very interesting in terms of like how you approach them in particular. Because like essentially those they strip you of all your gear and like they'll give you gear in the shrine to use, and that's kind of like what you do to get through it and everything, and they'll be like stealth your way through this and see if you can take out these enemies, or like here's a bunch of random stuff you can fuse to a stick and then you'll be able to take care of enemies that way, or like here's a car if you want to just run everything over and see if you could do it that way.
I mean, I basically solved one by making a bunch of like battle bots and just sent them off into the universe with the enemies, and like the battle bots and the enemies just fought each other until they both died, and it was like cool. I didn't have to do shit.
I think that's one I did that as well, and like I just like stood up top and just like watched them do the thing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, cool.
It was great. I was just
keep doing your thing, robots.
just have at it.
But yeah, I think they're a fun challenge in particular. Like they're more fun than like that DLC was in Breath of the Wild.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Although I am happy that the like Champion, I think it's called Champion's Ballad. That picture from the DLC carried over
Mhm.
into the house.
Yeah,
Um, which the house has caused a lot of controversy.
it's very dumb.
It's very dumb. Like the voice actress for Zelda had to like clarify one of her statements because people freaked the out.
Zelda fans are a certain breed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're video game nerds need to chill, man. Like
Impossible.
impossible challenge. When you dedicate your entire like existence to shipping characters and then like that ship doesn't work out or that ship does work out and you're against it or whatever, like there are real problems in the world, my guy.
No,
Read fan
this is
fiction.
my real problem.
Like, I don't know, if Link and Zelda live together, rad. Good for them. They probably deserve it because they're trauma-filled
No, please. Link lives in
children.
the house. Zelda lives in the well.
Perfect. Um, but like one of the things that I saw so many people say when they first found out that like Sidon it has a fiance and is getting married, they're like, "Oh no, Link's gonna be devastated." I'm like,
That's his bro.
that's bro. Also, like, y'all need to chill. It's not that big of a deal. I was so worried that that girl was gonna get like hate on the internet, and it's like, okay, it seems like everybody seems to like her. Okay, just good. It's bad that I have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because she was a good character.
Yeah. She's got
I
that
couldn't
wide
figure out
face.
I could not figure out what kind of fish she was.
Just wide face, like stretched out. It's very
Green.
funny and very green. You're right.
Very green. Um, but yeah, video game fans and shippers have zero chill.
Mm-hmm. I think the dungeons are good.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled a lot with the fire one.
Yeah, I kind of just circumvented some stuff in that one to to get around being lost. But yeah, um, I think the wind temple and the desert temple are probably like the two ones that are the best out of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Water temple's kind of just like eh.
Yeah, it's there.
It's there. Fire temple is interesting. It's just very easy to get lost in,
It's
which
very
makes it
easy to get lost
frustrating.
in. And at one point I had like got knocked down and fell down at the very beginning. It was very sad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Um, and so I was a little concerned because I started with water.
Huh.
I was like, oh, okay, like this is what they mean by the dungeons. This is fine, I guess. But then I went and did the Windwood next. I was like, oh, okay, this is what I was thinking I was getting myself into. Okay, okay.
I think
Which
the desert one feels the most traditional out of all of them.
absolutely 100%. It even has like mirror light puzzles.
Yeah. So I think they accomplished their goal and what they wanted to do with those.
Oh my God, and the Gibdos are terrifying.
They're very rude.
They're so creepy. Like those and the Gloom hands are like the creepiest thing in this game.
And I think they did boss fights really well in this as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
they really did.
because they use it in a way to like allow you to use the ability that your partner character you're getting for that dungeon is going to help you with, and it
Hmm.
allows you kind of like get a better understanding of like how to use it and all that sort of stuff. And like they're big, unique bosses that look straight out of a Zelda game. They look like that's what they should be. It's not just like you're fighting a Ganon shadow like you were in Breath of the Wild. So like it's
Yeah.
these are big boss fights, and that's real cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And
Mhm.
I like having my little companion pals run around with me.
Squad,
I got my squad.
got
Um,
squad.
there's a line that every single time I am running around my squad, um, it's from one of the I think it's from one of the Persona 3 movies. It's a line that Lotus Juice says. It's like, I got my crew behind me, my family, and I'm like, that's this. This is this. That's us.
You talking about family?
Is Zelda also Fast and Furious?
I think so.
All right, well,
It's
okay,
about
so
family.
Zelda is Yakuza, and Zelda is about family, and Zelda
I mean,
is a Strand
look.
game.
You can make Link a car, and he could live his life a quarter mile at a time.
You're right. You're right. Anyway, you want to talk about the story?
I will say, going off of like the squad part, I think
Yeah.
they could have implemented that a little bit better.
Yeah, having to chase down characters to have their abilities you need.
Or just like trying to pick up something and they run across you and then you activate their ability. Like, no, get back here. I don't want that.
I do that so much when I'm trying to get the pose.
Yeah, I think they could have done that better.
Yeah.
Just like, make it like a button press and then like a something on a D-pad or something of that nature.
Yeah.
I think that could have like made that a little bit easier and not just like, well, I gotta go run after this person because I want this ability right now. Oh, nope, I got the other person. Nope, got the other person.
Yeah, it gets chaotic when you have all of them.
Yeah.
Although they're not useless, which is great. Like they actually really contribute to fights.
Yeah, like you get a squad going and it's like you got they will just do the fighting for you essentially if you
Yeah,
want.
it's great. It's
And I'm like,
great.
sick, let's go.
Thanks, friends.
Getting Tulin first was great because he just snipes people. It's
He
like blah blah
does.
blah blah, and I'm like, heck yeah, dude, let's go.
I love having him, especially when you get the um like horror I forget how you pronounce it. It's like bokoblins but horrorcoblins.
The dudes who like hang
Um
from the ceiling and
yeah,
caves
the new
and
enemy.
yeah,
Because he'll just like
pop them
headshot
down.
them and knock them down, and I'm like, oh,
Bloop,
you're a good kid, and I
yeah,
like you.
he's definitely one of the most useful ones in terms of combat for sure.
Combat and even just navigating
Yeah,
because
because he
he's
has
got
that.
that wind skill.
Yeah, he can like push you forward and make you glide further than you might normally do. So like that's very useful. That was a great ability to have right off the bat.
I regret not getting it right off the bat.
So
I
you should have
should
been
have
like me and
listened.
like trying to find Hateno Village and be like, well, let's go up to the Rito Village. That's clearly where this is at. And I'm just like, oh, well,
Well,
I guess I'm doing this dungeon.
I remembered where Hateno Village was, but Kura tells you to go there first, and I was like,
Yeah.
but I want to see how Sidon is.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is good because like I think like obviously you can do these dungeons in any order. It is a little bit more difficult like for the first one because like, you're
Yeah.
gonna have less hearts and everything and not as good gear.
Oof.
But for the most part, you can kind of go and just do them in whatever order you want.
Yeah, you're gonna get the same story every single time you
They
finish.
sure are going to tell you the same story every single time, but like there's no like I mean you could have a set order, but like it doesn't really necessarily mean you need to do it in a set order per se.
Right.
Which I think is a smart way to do it.
I will say I got wrecked a lot doing water first. Like I got absolutely obliterated a few times
Yeah.
because I had like 4 hearts.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough.
That'll happen. Well, let's dive into the story because there is more story this game than there was in Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So they begin this game off with I think that initial teaser trailer, which was like them with Link and Zelda descending into the depths of Hyrule under the castle, and they find this mysterious, spooky body who's like, "Wah!"
Well, before that, Zelda geeks out and it's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
She is so hype about the history of Hyrule and finding out about all this down there. And
Even though they're not supposed to be down there.
no. And she she sees something about like the Zonai and she gets real jazzed about
Like,
it.
whoa.
I mean, she totally becomes like a history nerd, which
What's this about a demon king?
I'm pretty sure you've had to experience this kind of stuff when
No,
being friends with
never,
me.
not at
But
all.
Link's just like, all right, give me a torch, hand it over. I'll hold it for you while you nerd out. And I'm like, oh, Link's a good pal. Look at him go.
The funny thing you can do in that is when she's taking the pictures of the giant slabs is just place Link in front of her so he'll be in the pictures.
So did the pictures that she took when you get the Pro Pad back, do they have you in it?
I've seen people do that and like I think it can happen that way,
Oh, that's funny.
which is funny.
That's really good. But yeah, then you find the body, the dehydrated body.
Yeah, you
With a
find
hand coming out of it.
spooky Ganon, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? I'm back. This
Bleh.
hand's gonna fall off me, blah." And you're gonna like try and poke him with the Master Sword. He's like, "Blah, let me break this Master Sword. Let me take your arm too, blah."
Cut his cheek.
And then you're all gonna have a little fall.
Yeah, Zelda goes blah, and Link tries to catch her and doesn't, and somebody catches him instead.
And he goes up into the sky. And then you get a big
Hasn't-
tutorial section where you meet Rauru. He's the Zone 9. He's like, "Hey, I gave you my arm. Your other arm was real messed up. I'll give you this one. Now you can do all this cool stuff. Also, your sword kind of got busted up. That's bad anyways."
Yeah, he's like, "You almost died, my guy.
That's not good.
I had to save you. I'm sorry about your arm, though. It's pretty
Yeah. You do a bunch of stuff, and then eventually you find like the Sky Temple of Time, and you
Mhm.
get a vision of Zelda with the sword. What is it? Basically, the sword disappears from you, and then like you see a vision of like her receiving it, and you're like, "Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay, I guess she's have it. All right, whatever. Time to
there's
go
like a glowing
down."
gold circle-y thing, and Link's like, "Put sword here," and then
Mhm.
Zelda like grabs it, and you can see that vision, and then you gotta go.
Then you go down the Hyrule, and you learn things are bad. And then this is where the game basically just opens up. And it's like, all right, well, here's your mission. Find Zelda. Figure out what's happening with the castle and everything. There's also these weird occurrences happening in these 4 specific spots on the map. Go at it. Have fun.
They call the event the upheaval.
Yes, because Hyrule Castle has literally been upheaved
It's
out of the
floating.
ground.
Yep.
And they're also like, hey, there's a bunch of stuff happening underground as well. You see these holes? Be careful.
I did not even expect that. It was so scary.
That's where you get the depths and everything. But yeah, you get all you get this. You can go do whatever you want essentially now, and like, the main quest obviously is going to the 4 different folks: the Rito, the Zora, the Gerudo, and the Gorons, and like fixing their problems. And you acquire them as allies, and they get to squat around with you
with their secret stones.
with their secret stones.
I wish they had given that a better name.
I kept thinking they said sacred stones.
That would have been better than secret stones.
I did find it interesting that there's a lot of like, it felt like they took a lot of like Japanese mythology and put in this game. So like
Yeah,
the
because it's
Magatamas.
Magatamas.
And there's some other stuff in here as well, but like it's very rooted in like that Japanese mythology stuff, which I thought was interesting to use here in particular.
No, I agree.
But yeah, you have to go help the Rito because it's cold there. The Zora are dealing with sludge. The Gerudo are in a sandstorm, and then the Goron just want to eat meat, rock meat.
But
it's very different.
Well, they always eat rock meat, but it's like rock meat that is like brainwashing them essentially.
Yeah, but it's like these 3 like supernatural, or not supernatural, but like weather events are happening, or like something bad's happening to the ecology of the area and whatever. And then the Gorons are like, we're eating rock meat.
Hyper-capitalism's happening here, guys.
Very funny. So like I did the first dungeon, which I did was the Rito one, and that's basically you working with Tulin, who you met in Breath of the Wild, but now he's a little bit more grown up, and he wants to, be
he's
more
a ponytail now.
Be more of a fighter and everything. But his dad's like, no, you're a child.
No, you're a
but
kid.
you work with him to figure out exactly why the snow's being happening and all this stuff, and you find like this Rito like children's story played out to life with a big ship and everything, and you gotta like beat that, and then you beat a big centipede monster and flying through the sky, shooting it with arrows, and then he gets to join your team and all that sort of stuff. So I did that.
Wait, you shot it with arrows?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you have shot it with arrows?
Because I didn't have any arrows.
What did you do?
I would skydive into his body.
Oh. Huh.
And break his stuff and break his little circles.
Huh. I just shot arrows at him.
Nah, I just skydived a lot into his body.
That's interesting. So yeah, there's 2 different ways you could have done that boss fight, clearly.
How about that? I didn't realize that there was another way to do it.
I didn't either. I thought the intended method was just shoot it with arrows and then you're good.
Nah, I didn't have any, so I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna dive a lot.
So I did that, and then like you did the Zora tribe, which is you meet up with Sidon. He's like, "Hey, what's up, my bro? You got we got a statue of you
We got
now.
a
What's up?"
statue. I took
He
a picture of Link pointing out his butt.
they should have had Sidon and Link dap up each other.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very good. But also, you meet Sidon's fiance. She's like, "Hey, things are bad. They're messing up. Like this sludge is messing people up, and I gotta heal them. You should help Sidon fix this." And then you find the king as well, and he's hidden. He's like, "Oh man, this sucks.
He's
I
not
got
doing
beat
well.
up." But yeah, you do that. You beat up some sludge monsters, and it's kind of a dungeon. But yeah, you do that, and you fix everything there, and you get to
But
have Sidon on at your side.
I do really like the story arc of Sidon here
Oh
because
yeah, true.
he like freaks out about is her name Yona?
That sounds right.
Because she's like, you're the only one who can go and help him do this. I can handle this here. Let me do this. And he's like freaking out, like I can't lose somebody else I care about. I can't do it. So
Mm-hmm.
like you see how that Mifa thing has really just hindered
Messed with
him.
them. Yeah, and also he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's in like this pool that like is right underneath like the monument for Mifa.
Yeah.
So like even more so, it's just like, oh boy.
Yeah. And then he finally realized like I love and respect you enough that I know you can handle this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go fix things. And I was like, yes, good boy. Good boy.
And then they make him the king afterwards, and I can't wait to see them make another game of this or DLC where he's as big as his dad.
He just becomes big all of a sudden. Like
Hey Link, it's me, your boy.
I don't know how a guy that big made Sidon and Mifa. What their mom look like.
Yeah, Sidon continues to just be a shonen protagonist, and it's very good.
Basically, he still got the smile.
Yes, it's very good.
It's very good. But yeah, I loved his little arc there. Like it was a good moment of growth for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was important for him moving forward as king.
So I did that, and then I think I might have done the Garuda one.
I did
afterwards.
I did Gerudo and then Fire.
I like the Gerudo one because like you don't have to go through the nonsense of like, oh, I got to sneak into the town. I mean, you technically do, but then like eventually you find Riju, who's also grown up now, and she's like, oh yeah, by the way, we know this guy. He's cool. He's with us. It's all good. He can have free roam with the town. He's gonna help us out.
Yeah, it was great.
And they're like, all right, cool. I guess this is real weird, but all right.
I helped out with some of their lessons about like how to talk to dudes.
I like the one guard who like looks at him. He's like, and she's like, "You're not tall, no abs, pathetic." I was like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Not wrong.
It was interesting
It's kind of cut, but not like quite as cut as a Gerudo.
But it's interesting because like once that happens, they're all kind of like they're really hesitant, but they're also like,
yeah.
I want to talk to you because you're weird and I don't understand you, but we don't really see many of you out here, so I want to get to know what's the deal with y'all.
What's the deal? But also like, yeah, and Riju trusts you, so we trust you.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's a lot of fun that you don't have to deal with all the like sneaky stuff.
Yeah, Riju's cool. That dungeon's real good.
It's real good.
That boss fight at the end is terrifying. The last phase where like they're just throwing enemies at you and you're just like, oh god, run away. Just suffering.
I was panicking the whole time.
I was also
because they're so scary. They're scary as it is, and then they're throwing like 1,000 of them at you.
It's like, oh god, I don't have enough stamina.
While you're also trying to fight a bug.
Oh god. It's all messed up. So I did those two, and then like after that, I kind of like took a break from dungeon exploration. And I went and did a bunch of the Dragon Tears, which is the Dragon Tears are another like main side quest that you can do, where you go hang out with Impa, and she's like, hey, there all these like hieroglyphs have shown up throughout the land, and if you find this like little puddle, it'll give you this tear, and it gives you like a memory of like what's happened with Zelda. Who Zelda's been trapped she got trapped in the past. So she meets Rauru and Sonia, the first king and queen of Hyrule. And she essentially starts helping them out, and like she's trying to figure out how to get back to the present and everything, but like she also gets wrapped up in their fight against Ganondorf.
Oh, Minoru's there too. The sister of Rauru.
So you basically like this part of the game, like this quest in particular, is kind of like the memories in Breath of the Wild, where you could basically see them out of order, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually you're starting to piece together everything. So like I saw the first one, and then like I think the second one I saw was like Sonya dying. I
Oh
was like, what is
Jesus.
happening here?
Oh man. I was bummed when Sonya died because I really like her and I like the one where like she's basically just like teasing Zelda about Link.
Mm-hmm.
That was cute.
Yeah, because like the cutscene before she dies is the good one, because like she's getting called out by Zelda,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Oh, I thought I would see the or not see through your ruse, haha." And they clearly see through it. And that's where you kind of like really understand like there's fake Zeldas out
There's
there.
a puppet Zelda, yeah.
Yeah, which I kind of understood throughout some of these cutscenes, like kind of pieced together. That's probably what was happening, because like once you go to each dungeon, like the story is, hey, we saw Zelda and she was doing something and or told us to do this one thing. It's
And it
real
was
weird.
shady.
But you know it's Zelda, so obviously we're gonna do that. And then she kind of just disappeared in this bright light and like faded away.
Yeah.
So like I kind of started piecing together like, okay, that's not Zelda, obviously. That's Ganon as
Right.
Zelda, trying to lure people in essentially. And then you basically you piece together this whole story of how like she works together with the other sages and they fight against Ganon, but the fight doesn't go well. They basically are on the losing end until Rauru
Mm-hmm.
essentially seals Ganon away, and that's how you find him in the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself to seal Ganon away, and then Zelda will go off to each of the other sages and be like, "Hey, you gotta prepare. In the future, Ganon's gonna come back. Help the swordsman Link. Get your folks prepared, and we'll tackle him again." And they're all like, "Yeah, we'll beat him up. We don't
We'll
like
do
that
it.
guy. Yeah."
Um, One thing that made me really happy about these memories is that Zelda and her relationship with her dad in the first game was so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And this one basically gave her like positive parental interactions
Yeah.
and like they were able to like talk as a family and be able to like enjoy each other's company and they were talking the whole time of like yeah you're amazing you have all these things that you can do you have the time powers you have the light powers and you're so smart and we absolutely adore you. I was like Zelda needed that. She needed that validation. She needed that relationship. So I was so glad she got it,
Mm-hmm.
even though it didn't last obviously, but
Yeah.
um like it made me happy for her because the first one was just so sad with how the her dad was.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
One of the important things though you learn from these Dragon Tier cutscenes is that like Minoru has a conversation with Zelda about the secret stones, and is like, hey, there's this forbidden thing of like, look, there is a way you could get back to the present of your time, but it's this forbidden technique where you eat the secret stone and then you become a dragon and you're immortal, but then you lose all of your sense of self.
Yep.
And then like after the events go down with Ganon and Rauru and everything, Zelda is like, she still has the Master Sword, but it's basically just like, I don't really have a choice here. I don't got a way to go back home. Yoink, go.
I gotta fix this thing.
So she eats the stone. She becomes a dragon, and basically the Master Sword gets imbued into this dragon form of Zelda
In her head.
in her head. So like I had done this with like not doing all the dungeons and everything. And then it was like, oh, that's not good. And then it's like, all right, well, go find this Dragon Zelda and get the Master Sword out of her head. And I was like, uh-oh, I hope I am ready for this. I hope I have enough things to do this. And I was like, okay, well, I just need stamina for this now. So that's good.
Yeah, which is a complete opposite of what you did
Yeah.
in the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished the fire one and then you told me like, hey, you should do this thing for the Master Sword because I had been neglecting the dragon tier thing.
Yeah, I think like eventually like the game, if you don't do that, the game, once you get the whole squad together, the game will eventually be like, hey, you should probably go do this now.
Yeah. Well, the thing that benefited me that I was able to knock it out super quick is that I had already gone to the Forgotten Temple and I had a screenshot of where all the glyphs were.
Yeah, I mean they definitely like they lead you to there and like are like, hey, this is where they're all going to be.
Right, but I had already had that. Like I went there really, really early on and I
Mm-hmm.
took that screenshot like before I even went to the second temple.
Right.
Um, so by the time you told me like, hey, maybe you should pay attention to those for the Master Sword.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked at my screenshot. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's easy for me to find them then. Let me just mark this
Yeah.
down. And so I did them. I got the Master Sword, and I was like, oh, wow.
That's ooh boy.
And then when I get the champion tunic redone, they're like, hey, you need stuff from the Light Dragon to make your armor better. I'm like, you're gonna make me a monster.
Seems like, whoa,
You
Link, what the heck? This is real rude. Stop taking my scales.
I have to attack Zelda to get the stuff to not only do you have to get scales, you have to get like claws and stuff like that. Like
Fangs.
you have to brutalize her to
Beat her up.
improve your gear. It's so sad. I don't want to beat up Zelda. My dragon princess maybe girlfriend.
So I had done all that and I went back and talked to Impa and she basically is like, all right, well I'm gonna go back to Kakariko and we're gonna find a way to get Zelda back. And
Mhm.
like I would go back in and check in and Kakariko would be like, she's not here. Why is she here? I did the quest. Why isn't she like? Why aren't we doing this? But it's just like you have to do the other main story stuff, and then it'll be like, oh, by the way, you should go get the Master Sword now. Oh, you got it? Cool.
Yeah, there are several things. They're like, hey, you should do the Master Sword. One of them is that. The other one is the Deku Tree.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, Master Sword, eh?
Here's where it is.
Like, oh, okay. Thank you.
So I got the Master Sword early, and like I told you, and you're like, what? Huh? How? What?
Yeah.
Give me information, please. And it works the same as the other game. You know, it doesn't break technically, but it runs out of energy, and you gotta like deal with that and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you can fuse items to it, which is nice. Buff up that
Yes.
attack power of the Master Sword.
Um, so then I guess like I said, I already did the fire one before I got the Master Sword, but then you went to the fire one
Mm-hmm.
and,
So I did wind, desert, fire, water.
I did water, wind, desert, fire.
Yeah. So fire dungeon is you meet up with Unibo,
Unobo.
who is another feller who helped you in Breath of the Wild. Now he's got his own mining company, and now he's like gotten real deep into mining out this weird rock meat because he was told by Zelda, "Hey, you should do this. It's really real good." But then, like,
Brainwashes all the
yeah,
Gorons.
and Link eventually kind of snaps him out of it because you have to fight him, and he's like, "Huh." Also, he's got a cool like wrestling mask. It's very fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's got like a luchador
It's
maskish
very
type thing.
good. He's like, Zelda
Um,
gave this to me. It's supposed to help me with my mining and everything. But now, oh god, my
I
brain feels clear now.
I did not expect to go to the depths for this one though.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was pretty cool.
Got to go to the depths for this dungeon.
I
Like we
got
said,
so
it's kind of
lost in
it's
there,
very
guys.
it is a little confusing at times per se. But yeah, you eventually you do the stuff, you beat a boss, and then the rock meat goes away, and everyone's like, "Huh? Oh, okay, I guess we're back to normal."
You have to do some like Donkey Kong Country stuff with the mine carts.
You do.
Yeah.
It's true. And then after that, like you go back to the lookout tower, which is kind of like your base of operations with like
Mm-hmm.
Purah and everything, and like all the other like there'll be like people from like the Gerudo, the Zora, the Rito, and the
Everyone's here.
Gorons will show up there to kind of like help out because like essentially that's where you're gonna go storm the castle afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you go to the castle, and you feel like you're like I felt like okay, I got the four people. Going to the castle, we're beating the game.
That's what I thought too.
And it was like, nope, sorry. You find Scrungly Ganon. He's like, here, I'm gonna send off some of my Phantom Ganons at you,
Scrubs.
and you're gonna fight them, and then see you later, bye.
Bye.
This is also where you learn that the Zelda you'd been seeing around the Hyrule is also is a puppet of Ganon, which was not
Yeah.
surprising, but in case you
Nope.
weren't aware of that, that's where the reveal will be. So you fight them, and like after that, you're all kind of like, why wouldn't he fight us? He could have finished us off if he wanted to. And they're like, oh, well, he's probably still trying to, acquire power and all that sort of stuff. So he's not fully ready yet. So we gotta
There's
figure
something
things
we gotta
out.
figure out here.
We gotta figure things out now. And then eventually you're like, oh, there was a fifth sage. We should get another one. And this is where I was just like, all right, we got characters we've seen from the other game. Like, who else from the other game are we gonna like include here?
Right.
He's like, Purah, you're the fifth sage. Come on, let's go.
I thought it was gonna be Paya.
I was also. I thought it was gonna be one of those two. I thought for a second it was gonna be that weird researcher guy you do the ring ruin stuff with. And I was like, that wouldn't really make sense because we just met this guy and he just seems like a doofus.
Yeah, he's kind of a. Let's get Bolson in there.
Yeah. So like
he's gonna construct Ganon to death.
I don't know if you can do the ring ruin quest before.
You cannot.
So like I did that. And it's about like, there's these ruins over Kakariko that you got to figure out. And like Zelda apparently told them, hey, get away from them. You can't be there. And then
don't ever go near that.
Zelda was fake. So let's go figure that out. And it leads you down to the depths again where you find this factory, which I had found this factory beforehand.
Oh, had you?
Because I'd been doing like a bunch of depth exploring, not death exploring, and just trying to find, the light roots and everything. And I stumbled upon this place and I was like, oh, this is weird. This seems really big. And I saw that the thing you're supposed to deal with afterwards. And I went into two of the factories and I was like, there's something here, obviously, because they wouldn't have all this elaborate stuff here. And I can't do anything with because like I tried to like activate the thing and it'd be like, meh. And like I talked to one of the Zonai dudes and they were like, yeah, we kept getting orders from like Dragon Roost Island and now they've just kind of disappeared and we don't know what to do with them. So I was just like, okay, I guess this is a thing I'll do later. I guess I'll leave here now. So that was very interesting to like eventually come back because like obviously you when you're doing this ring room quest, you find yourself going up into the sky in like this electrical storm cloud area. You got to traverse that. This is somewhat difficult because it's a storm and it's wet.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta like not have gear on and they will get you electrocuted. And there's also enemies that are very tough.
Oh, you also get the outfit.
You do get that, yes.
Yeah, you got the yellow
frog
toenails.
Outfit. Oh no, that's the frog outfit. The outfit where you have to like mimic the slab that the dude finds. But yeah, you eventually do that. You fix the storm and everything, and that takes you into the depths where you find the factory for the second time. If you're me. And then they're like, oh,
first time if you're me.
I was here before. I remember this place. I guess now it comes into vogue. And like I saw the silhouette thing again where you got to build the thing, and I was like, oh, I know what we're doing now. Oh, so you got to go to these different little mini factories where you find arms and legs, and you stick them into this little mold, I guess that's the word you would use for it. And you do that and a robot pops out. And also you've been talking to like Minoru for a bit. She's like, hey, because you find like the head on top of the island.
Yeah.
And you got to take it back down and it leads you down to the depths. Essentially, she's like, hey, bring me to this thing and I'll chit chat with you and rebuild me and everything. And then she's like, hey, I'm the Sage of Spirits, right? Spirits?
Yeah.
And now I got unfinished business. All right, now I'm going to inhabit this robot. And I was like, heck yeah, we got our own mech. Let's go. And it's really cool because, like, you get to operate it by just, like, hopping on the back and doing stuff. But, like, you can grab all, like, the weird Zonai tech or, like, weapons and stuff and just attach it to the robot.
Yep.
And you just go fight and go blah, 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 blah. It's real good.
I got a message from you at one point, like, this fight. And I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were basically like real jazzed about it. And then when I got there and did the fight, I was like, oh, now I understand. Because you're basically like in a robot boxing match.
It's real good. And then you get the robot just to tag along with you as part of the squad as well.
Yeah, and it makes the depths exploration so much easier. Yeah, because
you can just hop on and like glide over the gloom parts or even like lava as well.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
It's very nice.
Only problem is you can't get up the straight walls, but
that's because I think those are impenetrable.
They are impenetrable. You are correct.
But yeah, you eventually get Minoru, and now you get the whole squad, and that's where they're like, "Hey, you should go get the Master Sword." And it was like, "You want to see my
Way
bag?"
ahead,
I got.
yeah.
It was like, "Go get the Master Sword. Go get the Master Sword complete."
Yep.
And then you get the quest of destroy Ganon. And I was like, "All right, we're ready for the end of the game. Let's go."
Let's go.
So again, the way you can finish this game is like, it's the end of the game is right there open to you as soon as you start this game.
Yeah.
If you just want to dive under Hyrule Castle and go down there, you could go straight there. It definitely feels like they've made this part harder than doing it in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Because there's way more of a lead up to doing it. But obviously people are already speedrunning this and I beat it in under 2 hours. So I'm curious to see how
Jesus Christ.
that's going to get it well optimized and everything. But yeah, there's a big lead up to this. You got to fight some hard enemies. You got to fight. There's a whole sequence before you fight Ganon where like it's just like here's a bunch of phantom Ganons and it's like you and the squad fighting. Like it almost feels like they took a little bit of a Hyrule Warriors and were like let's put this here.
Yeah, you have to fight all the it's not Phantom Ganons, it's a lot of the
regular enemies, yes. Sorry.
Gloom critters, and it was very Hyrule Warriors. It was great. I loved it.
So that was pretty good.
Except for I had to do it twice, which sucked.
Yeah.
Lame.
But then you go fight Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
And you fight him he gets hydrated.
He does get hydrated.
And you fight him like regularly for once, and then you fight a couple like some Phantom Ganons with him, and then like he just transforms into the Demon King, and then you see his health bar gets back, and you're like, okay, it's going real slowly, but it's moving, and then it's like it goes past the point of where it was normally. You're like, it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going all the way to the end of the screen. You're like, oh,
I was so upset.
Oh,
I was so upset.
So this is what we're doing.
And this is one of the Yakuza moments because he does something with his sleeve where he like throws his arm in a weird way, and I was like, oh my god, is he gonna throw his shirt off? But he didn't. That's sad.
I will say as well, like the game, this is in Breath of the Wild. I didn't remember Breath of the Wild doing this, but also I hadn't played Yakuza really before playing Breath of the Wild, so I didn't really put two together. But like, I love the lower thirds for all the like, important characters.
Yeah,
it's very good. But yeah, you have like a fight. There's the first half of this fight is kind of like as a normal fight with Demon King Ganon, which I think is interesting because like he has similar mechanics to you. So like he can
like
dodge out of the
stuff.
way and like try like into the flurry rush. Like you can dodge and try to flurry rush, and he'll dodge you.
Yep.
And I was like, that's really good.
Yep.
So I like that first half of that fight, and then the second half of that fight gets very tough.
It's so hard.
Because essentially his attacks get more wild and everything, but also if he hits you, he will steal hearts away from you. Not just like gloom you. He will literally just steal.
Take your hearts.
Yeah, and he'll also just like choose through your shields and everything. It's just like, ugh. I don't know if there's an alternate way to do that fight.
I don't either.
Other than the way that I found, which was just like headshotting him with arrows once he's like in a wind up for an attack, because that's the only way I could do damage.
Told me about it.
It was the only way I could find to do damage because like I would try and use like the sword and the sword and everything, but he would just dodge out of the way every time.
Yep, and then like I went through almost every single one of my shields trying to like dodge and then flurry rush and all that, and I was like, what do I do?
So eventually I figured out like, oh, I can hit him with the bow and arrow. So let me just get distance away from him because that takes away some of his like attacks or like some of his like shooting out like kind of like spread attacks. Because you'll have more time to kind of evade around them, and just like as soon as he starts to do an attack, blah 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 blah, start shooting with arrows.
Yeah, and that worked for me because thank you for telling me about that.
And you can't have your pals help you because they're down for the count because they come out. I think before he transforms to the Demon King and helps you out, and then like as soon as that happens, he's like, "Nope, get out of here."
So they're like in the corners. On the ground, passed out.
Hey, good luck. You're gonna need it. So you beat him, and like there's a really cool moment where like he's like you take his health bar all the way down, and he's like falling backwards, but catches himself, and then just lifts himself back up. He's like, "You're not defeating me like that, no sirree."
Nope.
And then he takes the because he has a secret stone he stole from Sonia.
And
he takes it. He eats it to become a demon or a dragon, and I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this." Uh-oh. This isn't good. Which is it makes sense because like the end of Breath of the Wild also had that very bombastic,
big
fight after you fight Calamity Ganon down in the Hyrule Castle.
Mhm.
So he just flies off, and you're like, uh-oh. He has it in your mouth, and he like chomps you or something.
Yeah,
And
he
he's
chomps
like,
you and you flies off with you.
he flies off with you, and you're like, uh-oh. So I was like, all right, how's this gonna happen? I was like, if they're gonna bring, this is where Zelda comes back, and here she comes on her dragon, like, and you free yourself. She's like, all right, I'm gonna catch you, blap. And this fight was way easier than the other fights.
It was way easier once I figured out what to do because like with him glowing so much I couldn't see the spots where I had to hit, but then once he like drained his like color so he could start attacking you, then
Yeah.
I could see him really easy.
You just gotta take like a second for him to like do his stuff, and then eventually like he'll just sit there for long enough where you can just glide down, and you just gotta take care of his spikes, and then
And then
eventually
Zelda will like help you back up if you need it.
yeah, you just like you take one off, he'll like explode, you'll fly off, and then Zelda's like
She's your
flies
Uber.
in. Yeah. So you do that like a couple times, then eventually you have to like get on his head and break the secret stone, and you do that, and then he just turns into a nuke as he explodes and dies.
He just nukes. Also, you forgot to mention that the dragons look at each other, and it's also very.
Oh yeah, there's right before you do the fight, there's a pose where it literally looks like you've seen this multiple times in the Yakuza games, where it'll show like the back tattoos of like of Kiryu and whoever he's about to fight, and it's like just that pose. And I was like, oh, I am so ready for this. This is good.
So cool. It was so cool. But yeah, he turns into a nuke when you beat him. He literally
and, like,
turns into
Link
a nuke.
on Dragon Zelda is just like looking at it like, huh, well, okay, that happened.
Oh, all right.
Let me get all that radiation.
Like, I wonder what kind of damage that did on the ground.
I mean, they were high enough in the air, I guess, but
I mean, a nuke
it was
even
a
on
very
the air
big explosion.
is gonna do some damage.
Yeah.
And then you fall.
And then you fall.
Well, first you get your little flashback with Sonya and Rauru, I guess.
And they're like, hey, buddy, how's it going? Also, your top's off.
Yeah, you just have. God, I had so many regrets.
You gotta get them out for Zelda.
I had so many regrets because I was wearing the lantern pants.
No, you did it right.
I was just like half naked with my big lantern pants. So I was like, oh no.
You did the right thing.
Oh man, if only I had the tingle pants that I have now. I could have gone in with tingle pants.
But yeah, like.
But yeah, they're like, hey, we'll help you, buddy.
You form your powers together. You do a father-son Kamehameha wave like you do in Dragon Ball. And then you shoot your light at Zelda's dragon form, and she transforms back to Zelda. And then, oh, she's just falling from the sky. You better go catch her.
Also, your arm's back to normal.
Blah.
No
cool
more
arm.
magic arm.
No cool arm. You got regular arm now.
But yeah, you gotta. And then I sent this message to you. Then it just becomes Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, and they also just recreate the opening of the game.
Yes, which I really like that full circle of he's able to like reach out and actually grab her this time. But yeah, it's Final Fantasy VIII where you have to like fly through the sky and catch the gal.
I do like as well. He like catches her and immediately like, all right, let's position ourselves to a lake. I've done this plenty of times now. I'm an expert.
I know what I'm doing. Giant splash.
Yeah.
He's still topless, just.
Look,
Dragging the
Rauru and
princess out
Sonya
of the
knew
water.
exactly what she wanted, and she
No,
apparently
you're
had been
right.
talking about Link's titties, and it was like, all right, we gotta get that shirt off you, boy.
I mean, Sonya very obviously was like, "Oh, you have the hots for this guy. You definitely have the hots for this guy." Like she does not even. She's not subtle about it.
She's like, you want to see them?
You want to see this man shirtless? We got you. So then, like the first thing that she sees when she wakes up is like Link,
She's like, huh?
and she's like, "Sonya,
Link, you're here.
Sonya, you did me a solid. Thank
we're
you."
Back. I feel like I've been in a weird dream.
Yeah. And he's being all soft and helping her up and all that. And I was like, "Oh."
He's like, hey, I'm back. Woohoo. And then you get credits, and then you have a post-credit scene where you're back on the tutorial Sky Island, and Minoru as a spirit and her robot are like, hey, I gotta go, by the way. I did my thing. We've accomplished the mission. I gotta go say hi to my pal, my brother. My sister-in-law. I'll tell them y'all say hi. Anyway, see y'all later. And then you and the rest of the squad are like, yeah, we're gonna protect Hyrule. Let's go. We're the best. Let's go.
We'll protect the princess.
Yeah. Everyone's very happy. and then the
Yeah, it's
game's
great.
over.
Yeah, I love that like Link just silently goes back with them and is like, "Yay."
Honestly, here's the thing I would have done here.
Okay.
You let Link talk here. Say like a
Yep.
word.
Yep. I agree with you. Or at least like have him say the thing with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I do
Um,
love how they do the thing and like Yunobu messes it up.
he messes it up. Yeah, he
It's
says it
very
wrong.
kanji at the end of Persona 4 Golden.
Yep.
I was
Very
like,
much so.
yeah, it's
I love
good.
it. I love that trope. Um, it was great. But I agree with you. It would have been cool if they had actually had him talk because he very obviously talks a lot in this
He's a
game.
chatterbox.
He chats so much, but like we never actually hear him. He just like is
He's like,
very obviously talking and
yeah,
gesturing and
yeah.
all that.
He's like the Warrior of Light in Final Fantasy 14.
I don't know what that means.
That they do the same thing essentially.
Oh, okay. Don't attack me. That's not nice.
Game's like, hurry it up, ma'am.
You've been talking too long.
I'm ready for bed.
Um, Another thing is that this game has fist bumps on it, so it's obviously great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That part's real good.
Real good.
Your hand's too
Yeah.
small. It's just fist bump.
It's great. It's great. It's great.
So good.
I love this game.
This game's pretty good.
I haven't stopped playing this game.
I have, but also I wanted to take a break because I went so hard. But
Yeah.
like, obviously I have so much stuff to do in that game. You know, I will eventually go back to it, but I feel like I kind of just wanted to take a break just so I don't get burnt out on it. Obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is it's a pretty. I mean, I put what like 70 hours into this game, and like, even that
70,
was like
75.
that was like the last couple of days mainlining the story. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to
I
this
still
game.
think that the funniest thing is that there was a message in Discord. Was it yesterday, the day before?
It was when we recorded Inuyasha. I think
Sunday.
Yeah.
So one of our friends was like, Al, you've put 105 hours into this. Are you okay? Do you need to drink water? Do you need to stand up? Like,
It's like,
are
that's
you
not
all right?
surprising. It's even
I was
more
like, there's
now.
no way I put 105 hours. I haven't even looked at it now. I haven't even looked at it. Do you
Either
want
way.
to look at it?
No.
I'm
Keep the
curious,
viewers in
though.
suspense. The viewers, the listeners in suspense. I mean, it's probably not up
Listeners
that
on.
high because you haven't played that much. You only played yesterday and a little bit today. It probably didn't
Right.
have
I
enough
mean,
time. Well, I
you
guess
know,
I don't know when they cashed
work
that,
is a
so
thing.
maybe like
Yeah.
115 now ish. So yeah, this game's good.
I don't even remember how to find out.
I think I would have to look. I don't think you can
Played
see
for
it.
115 hours overall.
See, I was right. 115.
Well, I mean, like I said, work and all that.
That tracks. It's you. You love to
Yep.
just no life games of like this nature. Games that you're very excited for, you will just go into gremlin mode.
Full gremlin mode.
Yeah.
So I did the same for Resident Evil 3.
Yeah. I want to ask one last question before we wrap up.
All right, one last question.
I would assume they will do DLC for this game.
Yes, I assume so too.
What is the what do you imagine the DLC of this game looking like?
Ooh.
Because the story's kind of wrapped up. I feel like you could do the stuff in the past. Maybe
You
let you play
could.
as Zelda for once.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like story wise, what else you could really do.
I don't either really.
Because like I mean, you got the Yiga stuff in this game, and that gets fleshed out.
Yeah, but that's also kind of wrapped up by the end.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hi, buddy.
So I don't know what else you would really do that would like make sense story wise, unless you want to do like more challenge stuff like they did in the first game.
I'm sure they'll do a challenge mode because that's the thing that they like to do.
Yeah.
Which like fart noises. But I mean, they've definitely got to have story.
It's just what exactly
DLC.
it's going to be.
What
I
is that
think.
going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, I know people were really wanting playable Zelda, so like that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because like one of the few things that they didn't actually address in criticisms of Breath of the Wild.
Was playable Zelda. I mean, they at least let her. I feel like do more things in this game.
Yeah. I mean, she's very much an active player as opposed. I mean, I will defend Zelda in Breath of the Wild to the death of me because she was doing some heavy lifting, but she was doing some heavy lifting that we didn't really see.
Yeah. This you kind of have
Um,
more of a.
a more tangible experience with her.
Uh huh.
You see like the result of what she did. And also like, good Lord, she's self-sacrificing. This girl needs a break.
So I
Hang
think
out
it
in a castle for 100 years, fighting Phantom Ganon, and then becomes a dragon for God
goes
knows
back
how
to
long.
the super past and then becomes a dragon.
Yeah. Like,
Um,
how long was she a dragon?
a long time.
A long time. Um, I also appreciate that, like, okay, they pronounce it Phi. I always get it confused because Trail says Fee. Phi, the sword spirit, is also active in this and speaks
It's
to
okay.
Zelda.
Question:
Answer.
Is that actually a thing that is permeate through other Zelda games, or is it just a Skyward Sword thing?
Skyward Sword thing.
So it's not necessarily that. It could just be, hey, this the Master Sword talks.
But it's the same sound that she makes in Skyward Sword. And they
Hmm.
made the same sound in Breath of the Wild too.
I mean, I know a lot of people are trying to like, again.
No, it's the exact same sound effect.
No, I know, but I'm saying like a lot of people are trying to like point and choose things like, oh, this thing is clearly they're referencing they're direct tying to Skyward Sword or this other Zelda game, and I don't really think that's the case. So I didn't know if that was like a thing in that aspect or if it was like or what exactly.
Yeah, I mean, canonically, like Phi is part of the sword. And like that specific chime that's made is the sound that she makes whenever she was communicating with Link in Skyward Sword.
Link, your Wiimote needs charged.
Basically, yes. Um
Link, you broke your nunchuck.
and then at the end of the Trial of the Sword and Breath of the Wild DLC, it made that sound again.
Hmm.
Um
I mean,
which
they
to
do also like gender the Master Sword as like
she
she her. So yeah,
yeah.
they just don't specifically like name.
No, and there's no way that they like the characters in there's no way they would know who she is.
Right.
Um because no one knew that she was an actual like personified piece of the sword essentially.
Yeah.
They just know that there is a spirit of the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so that's her, and like you said, they do gender the sword in this for that reason.
Which
But
I feel like
yeah.
that's more of like a wink and a nod rather than making it like hyper specific. It's the same, but like again, who's to say? If Link's not saying anything, who knows? He's the one
Let
who can
Link
talk.
talk.
He's the one who can hear the sword talk.
Well, Zelda can too.
Well, she didn't mention anything, so she just heard, "Hey, this sword talks like a lady."
It talks like a lady, and also
Didn't tell me a name.
it says ouchie, please heal me.
Oh God, this sucks.
This hurts. I can't do anything now. You gotta help me.
Uh, yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see if what they do in terms of like if they do story DLC again.
Yeah, I hope that they do.
That would be fun. For context and I guess for comparison's sake,
Hmm.
they did two DLCs for Breath of the Wild, right? The first one,
Uh, go ahead.
well, the first one was like the trials part, which was just like
Trials
the
Sword.
challenge DLC essentially, if you want to call it like that. That
Yep.
came out 3 months after the game came out.
Okay.
And then the story DLC, the Champions Ballad, came out about like 9 months after the game came out in December.
It was a baby.
Um, Obviously they have not said anything one way or the other if they're doing DLC. There's no like expansion pass that you could buy on the store or anything.
Hmm.
So they haven't made mention one way or the other. Maybe I feel like if they're going to talk about that, they'll talk about that in the summer per se.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, they haven't made mention one way or the other if they'll do DLC, but I would assume they probably will do DLC because Nintendo likes money, and this game has made a lot of
Money.
money already, so how else can we
Money.
make more money?
Yep.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see exactly what they decide to do, per se.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
Yeah. But yeah.
Huh.
Tears of the
One thing I do
Kingdom.
want to say before
It's
we
out.
wrap up that
No, we're cutting you off. Get out of here. Damn
Emma,
Cutter
I can't.
Mike.
No, no.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh. Can I say what I was gonna say? Okay, I was gonna say that I do appreciate that like in the last game they locked a lot of the like goofy outfits and stuff behind Amiibo.
Yes, yes. You're right. You're right.
And they didn't do that this time. You can still get all the pieces that you would get from Amiibo in the depths.
You could yeah, you could if you have the amiibo associated with it, you can get that stuff, but it's also just down in the depths if you want to if you don't have the amiibos or associated with it, or if you you just want to get the stuff you need.
Yeah, or like the helms that are based off of the champions that the folks the
Mhm.
previous sages wear. You can get
Yeah,
those like in the areas.
yeah. There's a little quest. They'll be like, hey, there's a treasure around here somewhere. You should go find it.
Mhm. But you can get all that from Amiibo, and so I've got a lot of stuff like from the Amiibo before I got it in the depths. And I was like, well, I guess I'll sell the depths version.
Hmm.
But I do really appreciate that that's not locked behind the Amiibo this time.
Yeah,
The only thing that's locked is the paraglider material, which like yeah, that's kind of bummer, but
and Eponia.
yeah, Epona.
Like you still cannot get that horse any other means except for amiibo.
Scanning, correct.
Yeah.
So paraglider and the horse, but like the outfits, I was super, super happy to see that you can
Yeah.
still get those. And there's some stupid ones like the Link's Awakening one is
That's
so funny.
oh man, that's something.
Oh boy.
They really went for that one. I think
Yeah,
that's so
they
funny
did.
that they did.
And that one's new. That was not in the previous
Yeah,
one
yeah.
because that game wasn't out yet. I mean,
Mm-mm.
that version of that game was not out yet.
I guess I will say as well before we wrap up as well.
Yeah.
As well.
As well as well.
I wonder what what the next Zelda game is. Like, do you think they just go and make a new 2D game?
That's a good question because like they've said that this is like the formula for Zelda's going forward.
And like they haven't made a new 2D game since Link Between Worlds, right? That was 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean not a new one. Like they've only done like the Link's Awakening remake.
So like I feel like you could definitely make a new one maybe in like that art style that they did for Link's Awakening.
Oh God, not that art style, please.
Or just something different. Like I feel like it would be a nice palate cleanser.
Yeah. I mean, like it would make the people who are super like anti Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda like happy.
Like do it like how Yakuza and Judgment are doing it, where like you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
these 3D games that are this new open world style and formula, and then you could make the 2D games as the more classical style of Zelda.
I think that's a very good idea to do the Yakuza. Why do we keep bringing up Yakuza?
Hey, they have good ideas. It turns out.
No, you're right. They have really good ideas. But like that formula of doing like here's the main line, we change it up, we're doing it different. Like this is how it's going to be from now on. But then like for those who want the traditional style, here's this side story that you can still play and get that stuff that you like. I think that's a really good formula because then everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And it turns out that is probably, I don't know. It's at least a good thing for money.
I mean, I would like to play a new 2D Zelda game.
I would too, especially after we replayed Minish Cap and talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Have Capcom make another one.
Eh.
I mean, their record is not that good, so
I mean,
don't
to be
actually
fair,
make Capcom do it.
The guy who directed Tears of the Kingdom also directed the Oracle games, so you can
Ooh,
only
okay,
go
so-
up from there.
No, you're right.
This is just a story of how you improve yourself after hitting rock bottom.
You're right. You know, this is a redemption arc.
Yeah, that's the word I would be looking for. Correct.
This is the redemption arc for him.
Yep.
I'm proud of him. Good job of making a great game.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's Tears of the Kingdom. It's
Yep.
finally out. We finally played it.
It's phenomenal.
It's a real good video game.
I'm probably not going to stop playing it, although I still need to finish Cold Steel 4 again before Reverie comes out. And I also have 2 other games on the backlog and some more games coming out soon. And I'm just like, ah!
The games don't stop coming and they don't stop coming.
Oh boy.
You
At
thought there
least
was
they're
a break
good.
for summer.
Eh, eh.
But yeah, that's Tears of the Kingdom, and that's gonna do it for this podcast.
You've heard us talk a lot.
Yes. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cool where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared and Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com to see the columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, and a whole wealth of bonus content as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, it'll be June.
Oh my god, don't tell me that.
June. I don't know if we'll have any like game stuff to talk about, but if not, maybe we'll just chit chat about whatever PlayStation decide to show off this week.
Oh yeah, when is that happening?
That is so tomorrow for us. It would have been Wednesday for all of you who are listening.
Ah, nahone.
So yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. I heard it's like an hour long, so maybe we'll have enough stuff to talk about. Who knows? I mean,
Wow.
look, we're getting into June in the summer. We're going to have a lot of game stuff to talk about. So we'll probably have a couple of episodes devoted to just here's what people have announced and are putting out. So
No, it makes sense. I mean, like this is our traditional E3 time, which is
yes.
obviously not happening because E3 is dead, but it's still like the traditional time, so
Yep.
we're probably gonna get something.
Yep. So yeah, look forward to potentially that next week or something else. Who knows?
Who knows?